What if the biggest thing dividing us isn't our differences, but our willingness to understand them and our exposure to them? Because two people can stand in the same room, looking at the same thing and walking away with completely different experiences of the world. And yet so much of life is designed as if everyone experiences everything the same way. I often find myself wondering what would happen if we started making considerations for all people, instead of waiting to make adjustments in response to a diagnosis. Because the more we talk about difference with curiosity, kindness and consideration, the more we begin to understand the people around us. Because we're all different, just like you. I'm Chantel, and this podcast is Different Like You, where we have kind and considered conversations about being human and celebrate the many ways we experience the world. I'm so grateful that you're here. What appealed to you about coming on this podcast?
That you took the struggles that you experienced in your own life and reached out to connect with others to showcase it.
Thank you for sharing that, because sometimes when things are hard, I think, why do I do this? And that is exactly why I do it, because I want every person out there to think if they care about something, there's a way to do it, and it might not look like a traditional path. You might not have had a set of circumstances that were conducive to that thing that you care about being easy or to getting that result. But there are people out there that will help you. And it's so hard, because I think despite any circumstance that I've been in, there's two things that I think about myself. And one is that I'm brave and bold enough to do the thing, to ask the question, to have the conversation. And sometimes I'm aware of that and sometimes I'm not. And that's where I think my ADHD has both been, a wonderful protector, but also has really accelerated me into weird and wild situations. And I think, how did I even get here? But let's go. I'm here for it. And but then also, and what I try and teach my kids is speak even if your voice shakes, and keep speaking. If someone's not listening to you, keep speaking. And that is the hardest thing, to advocate for yourself, right? And what I love about the people that have come on this podcast is I like to refer to them, everybody, as we are a constellation of considered humans. We all shine brightly in so many different ways. We have our own things that we do and that we love, but we have come together to create this beautiful thing in the world of celebrating difference and sharing resilience. And I'm a bit sweary, so I hope that doesn't offend you. But
No.
the shit bits, because nobody talks about that, right? Nobody
Yes.
says, a teacher, when I was in prep, I was 4 years old, and a teacher told me that I will never be able to learn. If I don't say that out loud in the world and say, hey, if you're a teacher, please really think about what you're saying. How are we going to learn? And there's no hate to the teachers out there, because they're operating within a system that I don't quite know how we got here, but we did. That they have a difference. They have an opportunity to still, even within the struggles that they face every day, they have an opportunity to do things different. And
It's true.
we don't have to agree. I think that is missed in a lot of opportunities, that it's okay to have a difference of opinion. We can still be kind if we
Mhm.
then are curious and we're open to learning about the other person's circumstance or their opinion. We're going to be worlds ahead of, situations where people are vilified for, being different, when bloody everybody is, right?
It's celebrated and shamed at the same time, all the time.
The duality blows my mind, like actually blows my mind. I'm like, the world's preaching, be yourself, stand up for what you believe, but only if it fits in this box, in this situation. Okay. It's actually really nice to hear that somebody else really sees that as well, because again, I don't think it's talked about enough. Like, we talk about it in individual spaces of, yes, it's important to be unique, stand up for yourself, advocate, but only in these boxes. You're allowed as long as you stay in this lane.
Yeah, as long as it's palatable. Yeah.
Right? And
Mhm.
so much of our female coping mechanisms to deal with stress, to deal with anxiety, to deal with a diagnosis and why it wasn't picked up was because the way we express that is socially acceptable. And so many people don't realize it. They're like, when I'm angry, I clean. And I'm like, yeah, because your body is physiologically processing from a vasovagal perspective what you need, and that's to move. But your movement looks like cleaning, so that's okay. Whereas a 22-year-old male's way of dealing with that is to get in a fight and have physicality, and that's not okay. But instead of trying to understand them, we're going to incarcerate them. Blows my mind.
Yeah,
Blows my mind.
it's
But
true.
enough about me. I mean, it's in every season as to why I do what I do. But Darlene, what I would love everybody to know, so we know why you wanted to come on the podcast. Tell us about who is Darlene.
Well, I am somebody who tried I tried to fit in with everyone, and then I stopped trying to fix myself in that way, and instead, I started building tools that worked with my nervous system instead of against it. So, all of the fit into a certain box, you can only express yourself in these ways, you can only cope in these ways. So many different things happen in my life that I realized that none of that fit for me, so then I built systems that did. It's my hope with the, systems that I have built that it helps somebody at least to understand that their inner voice is not wrong, that they've gotten to those feelings for very, very valid events that happen in their life, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. If anything, it's an opportunity to alchemize it into something so profound that it changes life for everybody.
Tell me more about those systems that you've built and the work that you do around that.
So I have my main system is, the MoonInMental method that I built. It uses astrological transits that explain, like, the energies that are going on, around us and how that affects person with their nervous system. So some days you feel more anxious, some you feel like not doing anything, all that stuff. And they're all lessons to try to teach you how to better regulate yourself in the ways that you understand. And then it uses aromatherapy blends for those transits that are clinically proven to be effective with those, like when you talk about the vagus nerve and all that stuff, that there's been enough clinical studies on them to show that it helps interrupt that thinking pattern that makes us loop during those times so that we can kinda hit a pause button and be able to collect ourselves and give a focus of that day, is what the transit part is like, "Why do I feel so anxious?" Well, it could be this. Here's how you can help regulate it. Take some inhalation of the aromatherapy to kinda get that reset button for you so you can be at center enough to go through the rest of the day.
That circuit breaker, I think, is so important in our family. So I am very proudly ADHD and have struggled with severe anxiety, but I never knew it for my whole life. But I never knew what that was. And my children, we all have the same diagnosis, which is something that I find really interesting. What we struggle with, how we present, what our strengths are all different because everybody is. It's no surprise. The most valuable thing in our toolkit to strategize in life is what circuit breaker each of us need and how we can access that in different situations. And I'm not even kidding when I say I give myself the biggest high five in a day when instead of getting like 0 to hero, letting my anxiety drive an action that will then have a negative outcome for everybody in that situation, right? It's never going to end well. But when I've been able to have that 2-second pause and understand in a situation, and this might sound familiar to some and worlds away for others, but it almost feels like an out of body experience where I'm standing back and going, good job, you were able to implement that. And I remember saying to somebody about 3 months ago, like that's the bit that I want everybody to have in their toolkit, because if you can exercise and access that, everything else is easier.
Yes.
I love that you mentioned the aromatherapy element because what we know is that it's a whole body experience, right? When we're dysregulated. And how do we get that? I'm not sure if it is talked about a lot where you are, but for our children and their education over the last 5 to 10 years has been when a child is dysregulated, you can't come back from that point. Once they're there, it's then just about assessing the damage and trying to help them through coming out the back end of it. But I feel like, again, that multi-sensory involvement is so important because it has the ability in each sense to give you that circuit breaker, to allow your body to not rely on the brain that is at the point where it actually can't make a sensible, rational decision. How did you come to the aromatherapy side of things?
I had experienced a lot of severe trauma in my adult life, especially. I was in a really abusive marriage for over a decade, and so you lost yourself.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, thanks. Um, so as you try to find yourself, you try different ways that other people have found themselves through either exercise or painting or, like you said, movement, all of that kind of stuff. And the only time I was able to stop looping about different things that were out of my control, but the brain can't stop, was when I would have like a facial service or a massage or something, and they had aromatherapy. I didn't have aromatherapy in my house, mainly because so many things make me sneeze. I'm allergic to so many things, so it's like, okay, no. But in those states where the lighting was subdued and it's just calming, the fragrance is what I remember, and if I remember correctly, fragrance hits a part of the brain that no matter where you are when you smell it, you can remember the first time you smelled it and what you were doing and all like what the scene I just described for you of the facial
Correct.
place or whatever,
Yeah.
same thing. And I realized I was like, wow, it actually stopped me from all the looping I was doing in the room, filling out the form and all that stuff to get the service. And then I was like, this is amazing.
Relief for you to have found something, right? And did you kind of have a moment where you're like, why isn't everybody talking about this? Like, I get
Yeah.
it. It's out there. People are like, this is good. But you're like, no, no, this is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And then I was like, "Oh, but wait, there's more," of course, because we have to go down the rabbit hole of,
We do.
"Oh, I can
Yes.
learn more about this? Yes,
I love
please,"
that. Yeah. Tell me everything. Yeah.
So then you learn about, then I was like, "Well, why are some off-putting, even though they're supposed to be
Yeah.
good for you and all that stuff?" And I guess in your astrological chart, you can find polarities, like fragrances that you're, like, keen to versus ones that are off-putting. So then I started dabbling with those, and then it's like, oh, now I have a daily accord blend that I wear. So whenever I wanna feel brave, I just put that blend on that I made custom for myself from the
That.
charts and all of that stuff, and I love it, and everyone's like, "I don't know what it is about you, but you smell great," and I'm just like, "Thanks, I forgot what I put in this."
Like, it's me. It's literally what you needed, right? Who you
Yeah.
are and what you needed, that's you in a our nostrils are such an underrated part of our body for the power that they can, they're the vehicle to being able to receive this, powerful thing that has the ability to dysregulate or regulate. And then it's having that awareness. It's really interesting. Your girl loves the research, and something that I was reading when I was at uni, thinking, what is the most efficient way to study? What are the different ways people do it? And that is a whole other rabbit hole in itself. But I did it, and smell comes really closely linked with there. There's research that says if you are trying to remember something, put a scent on, study it,
Yes.
and then when you go into your exam, wear that smell
Yeah.
because your body will remember and your brain can access it. And I've got
It's so
goosebumps talking
weird.
about it. It's so cool, right? Like our bodies. So I'm a nurse and I love being able to understand what is physiologically happening in our body, like that process, and then how that presents for people differently. And then when we are exposed to trauma, whether that be, psychological, physical, whether it's our body's perception of trauma. So those autoimmune disease where it's like, nah, we're not going to be friends with
Check
that organ
out. No.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how that happens and what actually happens in our body. And it's so fascinating, I think, being able to see it from that, but also living it. And also something I find really challenging, even though I have the information, I was saying I laugh because I can laugh about it now, but for so long it ruined my life. There is no nicer way of putting it that I would say to myself, you've got to get this washing out. You've got to get it out of the machine and get it on the line. And now I say to myself, there's no lion here. It's okay. There's no lion. If you don't, it's not a race. If you don't get the washing out, no lion's chasing you in the next 2 minutes. Last night, I watched a video from 154 podcast from the States. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a comedian called Learn More Janasi. Google him. He is fabulous. But this podcast, it's a video podcast on YouTube as well, and they are just fabulous human beings. Learn More Janasi did the translation from The Lion King. Did you see it? And so
The lions are coming! The lions!
look,
That's literally
there's a
all they say, dude.
lion. Oh my God. It's a lion. I love the disappointment in his face when he's like, yes, yes, this is the translation. And now I'm so glad I saw that and he put that out in the world, because when my anxiety is in the driving seat, well, that's what I think of. And I just laugh out loud so hysterically. I'm like, yes, look, it's a lion. That is all. But the feeling is so real. You mentioned before you use the moon. So I am self-proclaimed queen of the side quest, because it doesn't matter what is going on. These wonderful things come up in my life and I'm 100% in for it, right? So last week I was talking to somebody about Egyptian gods. I don't know how regularly that comes up in other people's conversations, but it popped
It
up.
comes up at least once a month in mine, whether anyone has asked or not.
Fabulous. I'm so glad, because it's not in any of the other circles that I play in, except for this one conversation. And it sent me on a deep dive into the Egyptian gods, and one of them being Thoth, who is the believer of the knowledge. But then equally, you need to have the knowledge, the logic, the process, but fuck, you've got to have the moon and the magic as well.
Mhm.
And I was
Both
like,
halves.
my friend, that is it. You have to have balance
You have to be a whole person. Oh, no.
in this lane, this box. That's all. We'll have your brain today, but nothing else.
None of that feeling stuff. Put that over there.
I feel kind of privileged growing up in Australia that, even though we have this tall poppy syndrome, we cannot celebrate the things that we've done, because that would be ridiculous. And we can't ever value someone for who they are, only what output they deliver. But I
Mhm.
do feel privileged to have access to the information that says, jack that. It's all shit. And we can do it different, right? It's not easy to do it different. It's a hard road. I have lots of rejection in conversations that I have, which for someone with RSD can be pretty intense. But I feel like it's really important to have them, because we all talk about work-life balance, right? How do we get that if we don't acknowledge the moon and the magic and the knowledge and the logic?
It's very true. It also makes us the most likely to survive a zombie apocalypse.
Tell me more.
Because you gotta think of the creative ways to make something work versus, "I only know this way." Well, now the zombies got you. Okay, well, this lady built a tree house, so let's go stay with the treehouse lady.
And the zombies don't like this tree because it smells weird and they don't like
Yeah,
that,
because
or
we
whatever it
know
is.
deep down from some rabbit hole that we went down that, "Oh, yeah, if you're decaying flesh, you can find this tree repulsive." I know this from
Watched a YouTube at 3 a.m. 10 years ago. Thank the Lord, here we are, and it's useful. I didn't know it at the time, and everyone was telling me I was mad and that I should just get more sleep. You're welcome.
and that's magic. How did you know that? It's magic.
Magic. Do you find in your life that you are now at a point where, even though you've got the information and you could explain it to someone to educate them and teach them, you're very aware of the people that are willing and wanting and those that you're not going to waste your time with?
At first, no. At first, I was like, "I have found this so magical. Surely everyone else will." And then it's like, "No, they are watching the Kardashians. No, they don't care. Coffee is their life." That kind of stuff. However, finding like-minded people or people that are just open to learning in general from life experience, they'll listen in. Actually, I was at because I have a nail tech license, right? And so I went into one of the professional beauty stores here where you can only get the licensed stuff. This is where I have 50 careers, like, you know
Same,
how it is,
girlfriend,
right?
same. It's yeah.
And it's still an active license too.
Yes.
But but I went in there and I was looking for a beard oil for my fiancé that had these fragrance notes that would be very pleasant. And I did not want to pay $50 for it on the online, so I'm going to pay $12 for it in the professional store because math, right?
$12. Yeah.
Yeah. So I asked the person there, I was like, "I don't know." And of course, it looked ridiculous, the container. I still have it too. It's a little glass skull with this oil in it, and then the skull has a little plastic cowboy hat on the top. How is this serious? I'm just like, "This is what." So it's like, "Well, why are you buying this?" I'm like, "Well, according to the notes of fragrance in it, I will find it appealing, and so will my fiancé. So he'll enjoy wearing it, and I'll enjoy smelling it because he could like something and I could think it's gross, right? Like, so it
Yes.
best all around." So he's like, "What brought that around?" And I'm like, "Well, I have MoonInMental, blah, 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 aromatherapy, whatever, all that stuff." And so he goes,
Here comes the credenza of things that I do.
so then he starts asking, I wouldn't know it by looking at him, but he's like, "So if polarities are in your Mars and Venus, and those are both Earth, would those polarities of fragrance be?" And I'm like, "Yeah, frankincense, you got that." So I started naming the stuff off, and he is like, "That's what I need." He wanted to buy a fragrance for his partner, but he knew his chart, so he knew those 2 things. So he knows that if he finds a cologne that has those notes in it, that they'll probably like it. So it was
Will
like a
you just,
whole
like, come on in, like, you are my tribe. We didn't know that when we started talking, but now we do, and
but
please.
now we're great friends, and now I'm
Right?
gonna be like, "Well, how did that turn out? Well, when did you pick up?" Because there's so many fragrances
But
out
I
there,
I
you know?
love that. How You've said a couple of things there that I really would like to explore a bit further. In your relationship, the senses, how impactful has that been for you both? And what is that how has that changed your relationship that you can understand what will actually work for the 2 of you?
Mm. So it's helped me understand that people are all going through their own things. Because they're all going through their own things, it's very difficult to be able to take a step back and consider other people's experiences. Because our experiences can feel so intense at times that they can feel all consuming. So, what this experience has taught me in this route with my relationship with my fiance is it has taught me to be able to make sure that I am at center first before I try to have a conversation instead of trying to ride the emotional wave and explain away. And it may not be the time and place for that. When I do like the meditations of those transits, which is like, okay, this is what hits your charts. This is what's like might be bothering you today. Like, let's say today is like worried about finding a job or something. And then you meditate on that, right? And you have the fragrance going to kind of like be this circuit breaker, like you talked about, so that when you want to have that discussion with someone you care about, you are coming from a place of center instead of being all over the place, hoping that talking to them will help you be regulated
To get
when
to the point, it's about being
that's
regulated
not their job.
to have
That's
that
not their job.
discussion, right?
It's our job to know what makes us happy, our job to know what we want, our job to communicate that, and our job to understand that it's not other people's job to do that. So it's really helped me of having conversations where both of us are totally present instead of asking him to be present while I'm totally dysregulated or while he's totally dysregulated. And I'm like, but you need to help me. Like, no. So
I
having
can
that,
come to you with a problem because we're a partnership and we wanna do this together, but I need to be regulated enough before I discuss it, and I need to be clear
mhm,
about what my thoughts are. I don't have to have an answer, but I need to be clear about kind of why it's affecting me like this or why I think it's problematic and what I would like it to change. That kind
right.
of
So if you're
yeah, okay.
Yep. If you're finding yourself cleaning and stuff and you're, like, irritated, it's like, "Why? Why is that?" We love why. We have to know the why before we do the how. So it's otherwise it's not happening. So, but then it takes practice, right, each day to say, "Wait a minute. Why am I cleaning this and why is this making me mad?" It's something that is every day, week, whatever that has to be done as an adult life. So the meditations and incorporating the aromatherapy for myself in my relationship has really helped me understand exactly where I'm at so that I can explain to him where I'm at. Not that he has to fix it, not that it's already done and over with, but like, I'm right here right now. I can't check in for this other thing because my brain's going on this and I don't know how to get it to stop yet, but that's where I'm at.
Being
So,
honest about your capacity through my diagnostic journey, or I talk about the value of a diagnosis to parents. I had so many people say to me, but you lived your whole life, why would you bother getting a diagnosis? And I was like, you that's the whole point, because my whole life has been horrendous.
yeah,
Full
yeah,
stop. And then now the value of a diagnosis is what I can understand is what I need. What I have and still continue to struggle with intermittently is the fluctuating capacity and being okay with that.
mhm,
And in order to be okay with that, life looks very different than the systems that we operate within ask of us. And so I feel
absolutely.
like I'm constantly fighting. Well, I can be what society says a good contributing member of society, or I can be a regulated human, because the capacity fluctuates so much within a day, but also from day to day, week to week. It's hard to explain that. And I think that is part of why I like to have these conversations, because we need to talk about how things show up for people differently. And if we can put that out into the world and say, "Oh, this happens for me, this happens for me," people have access to the information, right? If they have the information, if they know different and choose not to do different, that's on them. But we can put it out there. Through your journey and your process, is there something, like for me, it's fluctuating capacity, that I think I will still struggle with for a bit of time. I've put in the work every day and it is hard work, hey, and it's multiple times a day that you're accessing those strategies, that you're accessing that information. How do I need to help myself? What do I need to do now? How is this showing up for me? This is the goal. This is how society says we need it. But if I do that, everyone in this household is going to be dysregulated. So, what is the different way we're going to do that? And I find that tiring, but so necessary
Yeah, we have to have systems,
and
absolutely,
time
for that.
consuming to regulate. Is there anything that you find through this process and the things that you do that you think, "Oh, this is still a bit tricky for me?" It's not debilitating, or maybe as debilitating as it was, because fluctuating capacity definitely isn't as debilitating for me as it was, but it still shows up. And something that I think I'll find tricky a little bit. Is there anything like that for you?
Yeah, it was very much, until I leaned more into building projects through Claude AI. Of all of the different things I've had to track and where did I leave off, and sometimes I go on tangents, and sometimes I'm like, "No, but this is wrong because of this thing," and I've written in the instructions and in the skills that I've built over time, and I have, like, 10 different projects because why not?
But it's double digits, because I reckon I'd be hitting, 3 digits pretty
I have,
strongly.
like, one
So
I have one for house chores because it was driving me crazy. I'm like, "When's the last time I mopped this?" Because it felt like 5 minutes ago, and it wasn't. It was like 2 weeks. I was like, "Oh, whoops," you know? So
perception
and
of
then I
time, right?
yeah, yeah, time blindness, all that stuff. And then I felt like I'm constantly doing this. I did it for 10 minutes because I just don't like doing it, so it felt like 3 hours. But in the instructions I wrote up for Claude, I said, "Look, I have these things about me where I can go a million miles an hour, and then by 2 o'clock, I am out. I'm out. I got nothing. I'm the grumpiest person ever. I need a snack. I need people to leave me alone. I need the lights off. I need you to, like, not ask me questions, Claude, because you're talking too much and you're annoying me now. And whenever you hear me doing that, say, 'You're dysregulated. Go take a break.'" And
I
so it
thought I
pushes
was
back
the
at me.
only one. I thought there was only me that has employed
No.
AI to equally do the nagging, outsource some of my nagging for the kids to do the things they need to do, but equally to regulate me, because my brain goes 200 miles an hour,
Mhm.
24/7. So it's actually
Yeah.
really hard work to pull me in and say, "Hey, this is what you need right now," even though you don't know that. We've got the
Yeah.
data and the evidence to say, "Do
Yeah,
this."
and it has the tracking
Yeah.
where it can log it. It can log it and store it in Notion for you to say, "Okay, you ate at this time. It is now, like, 12 hours later. "You go eat something because you're talking rude right now." I told it to
Guilty.
tell me. I told it to tell me that, so that also
Yes.
helps with regulation.
Right? That you have that you're looking at that going, "Shit, this is not the person that I wanna be. This is not who I am when I've eaten well and hydrated and had enough sleep, okay? This is the dysregulated version of myself. So thank you, Claude." Like yes, I would love to do another episode with you where we talk about how AI equally, again, that duality helps and hinders because
Mhm.
I think it has allowed so many people access to be able to do so much cool stuff that maybe they just struggled with figuring out what the process was. And boom, done. We're going to solve problems that need the human connection and they need the person to facilitate it. But that person who's excellent at the facilitation really struggles with all this other stuff, so had never done it. And I talk about that a lot because I wear many hats as well and have many projects, but I never want that to change ever. And AI has not only allowed me to be able to brain dump, think about how it's connected to what I value, because my values are the same across the many hats I wear. My values and purpose is exactly the same. I want to deliver it to these different areas in these different ways because that's how they need it. I've just recognized the pattern and I give a shit because of my values and my mission. So, and this is how I can do it. And people then are like, yes, this is what we need. And I'm like, what, but what do you mean? Why didn't you see that?
Yeah.
I never knew that that was valuable. I thought I was just an inconsistent mess who would never have a 9 to 5 job and climb the corporate ladder. And that was a terrible version of a human to be until I learned about who I was and that all those people were wrong. And thank God. And I can't climb the corporate ladder and I don't want to. That is not my desire in life. It is not, but the professional narrative is so strong.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, if you're a
again,
responsible adult, you have a nice boring job and,
put a
you
post
know.
up this morning that was like, "Who let me adult today?" As I'm wearing this like beautiful dress that I love. I chose it because I couldn't deal with choosing a top and a bottom that matched. So dress it was today. And then I was wearing my platform glitter Crocs and took my coffee in my mug in my car while I dropped my son off at the bus. And I was like, wow, this is not society's version of a successful adult, but I loved every minute of it. I was regulated, happy, so was my kid. We had the best drive on the way to the bus stop, and I wouldn't change it for a thing. Like, jack the idea that, this is not what adulting looks like because I'm having the time of my life. I don't know about them.
And what does adulting really look like anyway? All the people that seem to have it all together, they're in the back, like, crying in the closet at night, like, drinking 3 bottles of wine and stuff. It's like, "I don't want your life. You're so unhappy."
So what is
You
the
know? I
goal, right? Like this I
Yeah.
talk about this a lot. What is the goal? And as a society when we value outcome over effort and the value of a person, we're not valuing quality of life. They might say that, but their actions don't match that. And this is where it's confusing for the people that are trying to operate within it. Because my goal is to be a clinical competent clinician because I love that. My science brain is like, yes, please get in on that. So I want to be that. And that means I need to do certain things, and that's fine. But I want to have flexibility in my life that affords me to be the present parent, to do research, contribute on a higher level to the systems that we operate within, and to have contentment in my everyday. None of that comes with a 9 till 5. There's no flexibility in that.
There isn't.
And is contentment not the goal in life?
I think they're too busy chasing status and trying to escape ridicule because they don't even like themselves enough. They're afraid. They're afraid. I was surprised at how, with, like, EMDR therapy, that neurodivergent people are much more brave to go through with it, and it's so effective. It's effective anyway. The normies, I guess, they're so afraid of even being in the room with a therapist and, like, or something
Of
that
the
is really
process,
messed up.
right?
Yeah, and it's like, no one's in there but someone who's paid to, like, help you. and the tick, tick, tick thing. Like, what is your problem? But they can't get over it. And I feel like that's the same way they live through life too. They're so afraid because I don't know, they were shamed into not being themselves. I don't know what the answer is. Also, if you like that scientific approach you're talking about, I have an entire works cited section of all of the aromatherapy with the clinical trials of the peer reviews that I got all
Written
the
it
information
down.
from. Yeah, I was like, she's gonna love that.
Me the thing. Show me, because I'm curious and the conversations that I have, the professional development sessions that I run, the research that I am undertaking is all built on difference, inclusion, all of that. But I have one framework, one approach that I use. There's all the science there behind it as to why it's tiered. It's easy to remember because there's so much in our society that's so noisy. It's so, you should do this, you should do this. How this is what this looks like. And I was like, this doesn't need to be hard. We need to be kind first, always in every interaction. Just be kind, be curious, and be open to learning. I don't know how as a society we move so far away from that, and I don't know why we find it so hard, but that is why I'm doing the research, right? Because I'm here for the why.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more in a different country. Tell me more in a different culture. How does this show up for you? What is your experience? I think fear is a really interesting thing, and I would also like to explore that with you. So there's a couple of different themes that have come up throughout the guests that I've had on, and a lot of the conversations that we've had as I have building this constellation of considered humans that I love that so much that there is real similarities. One is fear in their life, one is trauma and how it's shaped them. So childhood fear, then AI and how it helps and has hindered. Everyone's experience is different, and then regulation and just how we do things different in our day. What does your day look like? And for me, each day in each week is so varied. It's so diverse. And I've created that. That's what I want. But it is so strongly judged.
Yeah.
And I
People
would
yeah.
love to record a few different episodes with you around those specific things. If you're interested, and equally, if there's things that you want to talk about more, please come to me with them because it might just be that I've not thought of it or it's, doesn't sit in my world. But I can tell you right now, I will be curious about it and very much open to learning. So please make the suggestion. I also, just as a funny, because I think we need humor to get us through the tough times. So I have created I don't want to call it a comedy bit because I think I'm the most unfunniest person on this planet. But my son, who's 13, he's like, Mum, we need to do a show. And we've been talking about it. And one of the bits that we're going to do is here's my suggestion, right? Where I think that neuronormative people, neurotypical, whatever, anyone who doesn't have a diagnosis, where they've got named things wrong. And then I gift my suggestion. They don't have to like it. They don't have to adopt it. They don't have to care about it. It's just a suggestion, right? So one of them, and I'd love you to think about this as you're going through your days for when we record again, because I want to hear them, is people talk about a day off. Everyone's chasing a day off, right? And I'm like, but what do you mean? If you need a day off from your life, that means that everything else in your life is hard. But equally, on that day off, what do you do? If you're off, are you off of everything? I don't understand. My brain is not understanding. So here's my suggestion. It is, would you rather be presented with, hi, would you like to have a day off on Tuesday? Or, hi, would you like to life on a vibe on Tuesday? That's my suggestion. Life on a vibe. Because that's what I want
We
on
call that Tuesday.
Thank you, right? That is the goal. Life on a vibe. And I just don't know how neurotypical people got day off, like how they made that hard work. Like the day off is then like they've gifted us actual work. So in the bit that my son wants to do, it's going to be that, like, how about instead of day off, it's life on a vibe, and you just wake up and it's what you want to do. Because in our society, I don't know what happens over in the States. I think it's very similar. Saturday and Sunday are the days off. They're equally for mums the busiest days of the bloody week because that's when you're doing all
Yeah.
the running around for kids, right?
All
So
the
that
errands.
not a
Yeah.
day off, never a day off.
Mhm.
And what mums want in that situation, they want a life on a vibe.
They want a vibe day.
They want a
Mhm.
vibe day. They don't want to
Where I don't
like
have to make the vibe for anybody else. I can just follow the vibe and
Life on
That's
a
it.
vibe. So, as you're going through your days, if you think of things where you're like, yeah, that's a shit name for that, this is better, please write it down, voice note it, whatever. Send it to me in an email in that moment. I don't care. Just get them out.
Is that like where instead of a rattlesnake, you say it's like a bitey noodle or something like that? You're renaming things
100%.
like that?
100%. Like, what is more accurate description of what is going on rather than the silly name that it's been afforded? We have lots in our house, and as my brain does, I can think of nothing else right now except for day off versus life on a vibe. But I will send you some others because, yeah, we do like bitey noodle. That's an excellent name. And also, who's petrified of a bitey noodle? Nobody. And we shouldn't be petrified of snakes. We should have an
They're just
understanding.
animals. Yeah.
Right. We need to have an understanding, we need to have awareness, but we shouldn't have fear. So Bitey Noodle is perfect. Yeah, I'm rolling with Bitey Noodle now. Bitey Noodle is in. It's made the list. It's right. It's here. Look, Bitey Noodle. I'm writing it down. Bitey Noodle. Yeah. Snakes that they got such a bad PR. Like here's my suggestion. It's a PR strategy for the things in our world that need a bit more love. And I think starting with our constellation is a great start.
I was gonna say between our 2, like, the state I live in and then where you live too, we have a plethora of bitey noodles to where if you're native, you're just like, "Okay, get the broom, sweep it out, whatever," who cares? It's venomous, whatever. It rained a lot, no big deal, but then other people are like, "Ah."
Like the things in Australia that people oogle over, they're so cute. You don't want to be anywhere near a koala when it's in a shit mood or a bit scared. Like, stay away. Again, the wrong PR. It's got in the wrong PR. Like, cute, cuddly, love me. No, that's not. They have chlamydia. They're full of germs. They're violent. They're aggressive. See, who was in charge of this stuff? I'm so sure neurotypical people. That's what happened. They were like, this looks
They're
cute.
like they saw a snapshot and they made all of their judgment on the snapshot. It's like, "Did you look at the whole thing?" No,
Right.
no. They
See?
saw something for 5 seconds and determined, and I'm like, "That has no depth."
They got the story wrong, and now the world is living in it, and we need to change it.
Koalas, more love for the bitey
Bitey
noodles, you know?
noodles, more bitey noodle love. I cannot wait to pick up my son this afternoon and tell him about the bitey noodle. He's going to love that. Darlene, I'm so appreciative for you spending time with me today. Time, I feel like, is our most precious commodity. It is priceless. Who we share it with shapes who we are, how we feel, and equally what motivates us, what dysregulates us. And I'm just really grateful that you have chosen to spend time with me today. We
Thank
will
you.
talk again, and I'm going to put it out there. I'll be brave and regularly because I think we're a vibe. And
So much fun.
so
So much
much
fun.
fun. And thank you for bringing fun and laughter and joy and interest into my day and my life. I think conversations like this, they change the world when we can have a ripple effect that has made someone else think differently. So thank you. I will send you an email because we're going to talk more, but equally, please send me anything and everything whenever as well. There's no
You're
no
gonna get so
rules.
many
You
memes.
just
You're gonna
send
get so
them
many
to
memes now.
me. Send them to me. Jump on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. Get them to me. I love them. And equally, be prepared for the little messages that will come your way too as I go through my day, and different things make me think of you. But thank you. It really has been so much fun.
Thank you so much. It's been a true pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Darlene. Bye.
This conversation made you pause, think, or see the world a little differently, then it's done exactly what it was meant to do. None of us are given the gift of knowing everything. The real gift is our ability and our desire to learn. We can learn from people, from their stories, from their experiences of the world. And honestly, I feel incredibly privileged when someone takes the time to share theirs with me. Every perspective helps us understand the world a little more. The more we talk about difference, the more we learn to understand each other, and maybe that's how we build a world that truly considers everyone. I'm Chantel, and this has been Different Like You. If you'd like to learn more about the different things that I do beyond the podcast, you can find everything over at chantelpointer.com. The link is in the show notes, and until next time, be kind, be curious, and always be open to learning.